Welcome to EP Daily. Today on the show, we've got a double dose of gaming sequels in the rundown.
Plus, hide your kids because we've got a look at Ted 2.
Do you consider yourself to be human?
Objection sustained.
No, the witness can attest.
Overruled. Sidebar. Guilty. Speculation. Hearsay.
And then I unravel the whimsical new side-scroller, Unravel. Also coming up, Jose and our newest reviewer, Sophia Tong, take a look at Magica II. Marissa and I head to a Lego version of Jurassic World and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest in everything cool every single day. And today on the show, we've got a sequel to one of my favorite franchises. We call it The Rundown. It looks like Nintendo has an inkling to bring us more from the colorful world of Splatoon. The new game launched exclusively on the Wii U last month and is basically Nintendo's answer to online team-based shooters. It's the first original franchise from the publisher in years, and despite the fact that Mario and Link don't show up, it's already sold very well despite the relatively low install base of the Wii U. I caught up with Nintendo of America President Reggie Fils-Aimé, who told me that he thinks Splatoon is the start of a new franchise.
When we showed that game a year ago, people raised all types of reservations. And you look at the community playing Splatoon right now. They're having so much fun. That game is selling like gangbusters. It's going to be, I believe we've established another new key franchise for us. And that is the Nintendo way. Constantly thinking about what's fun, what's innovative, and how to bring that gameplay to life.
We'll let you know if Splatoon gets a sequel or if any of its cute squid-like characters will appear in other Nintendo games. You can check out our review of Splatoon by heading to epn.tv. And one game that is definitely getting a sequel is the racing game Project Cars. Developer Slightly Mad Studios has announced Project Cars 2 barely a month after the first game was released. Like its predecessor, the sequel will be crowdsourced, which means the developer will rely on input from the fan community to tweak the game. There's no word yet on when Project Cars 2 will cross the finish line. The developers haven't forgotten about the first game either. They're also working on new cars, tracks, and other add-ons for Project Cars, which will continue rolling out over the coming weeks and months. Fun stuff to talk about in the rundown today, and here's the very fun Marissa Roberto to talk about it with me.
That's nice.
Splatoon, it looks like we may have a franchise. Reggie's saying it's a franchise.
Well, yeah, Reggie says a lot of things, though, Victor Lucas.
He's very positive. Yes, he is.
He's very positive. We just went over this. But that's fine. That's fine with me. I love Splatoon. I love the whole idea of Splatoon. I love that it's very cutesy, but I love that it's still hardcore.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy in this game, isn't there? I know, and it made me have a little mea culpa moment because I wasn't expecting to love it as much. I told him, I apologized to him.
You did apologize.
I asked him to take it back to the team in Japan. I really did like that game.
Oh, okay, good. I'm sure he did
I
that
called
right
it
away.
too soon. I'm sure he did. Now, Project Cars, we just reviewed.
We just played this thing.
We just did. It's a massive simulation, huge experience, super fun. Excellent audio, one of the best sounding collection of vehicle sounds I've ever seen.
Yes, it sounds amazing. That's wonderful. That's so fantastic. But I know they're giving us updates already on this first one.
Yes,
Why can't I just play this one for a couple of years? This game's going to give me a couple of years of gameplay.
They're in the Forza Gran Turismo kind of cycle now. They want to take on the big guns, and they think they need to keep coming out with new ones.
Sure.
I guess, what do you want to see out of a sequel?
That's the thing. I feel like I have a lot to still do in this game. I put so much time into this thing. I feel like I barely scratched the surface.
Well, here's what happens with good racing games is that all the car manufacturers start to take notice, and then they want their cars in there. So once you make a great one with Project Cars, which they did, now those discussions to license the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris and the Porsches, which sell the game but also sell the cars, becomes a lot easier. So.
But there's still a lot of competition out there when it comes to racing games, and people have their favorites. There's only really room for one of them on their shelves. So.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a super popular genre. It doesn't seem to fade, and there was obviously room for Project Cars. We're getting more of it.
Dope.
It's a good series, so congratulations to the developers. Good stuff there. But right now, we've got to go behind the scenes on Ted 2.
I think you'd make an awesome mom.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? I would kick so much ass at Mommin.
So what do you say? We all good?
Yes! Oh, I love you! I love you so much!
In the beginning of Ted 2, Ted is finally going to marry Tammy Lynn. John has since been divorced for quite some time from his wife, Lori. And as much as John's excited for Ted, he's also pretty depressed about his situation, how his relationship kind of deteriorated. They're getting married in the same church. Of course, John is Ted's best man. And shortly after they're married, reality sets in, and so Ted is now trying to figure out a way to save his marriage, and then they go on a journey to allow Ted to become a dad.
Catch. What the? Dude, that's somebody's kid. Fight some shit!
As amazing as it would be if a teddy bear came to life, at some point people would start to see it as the norm. They would have to. Human beings are very adaptable and very quickly adaptable. Fairly soon after it happened, people would be like, oh, well, that happened, you know, moving on. We tried to keep to that idea, and we figured eventually the subject of what Ted's legal status is would come up. And human beings are inherently tribal. We have a need to kind of put people into little groups to our own detriment. And there probably would be some resistance to let a talking teddy bear into our club in the same way there's resistance to let gay people into the club. At a certain point in time, let black people into the club. There's always that resistance. Amanda has a line in the movie where she says, in every civil rights conflict, we're only able to recognize the just point of view years after the fact. We never see it while it's going on. We always think this time is different. And so that's probably what would happen. So we try to treat it as realistically as possible. And yeah, he'd have to get a lawyer, he'd have to go to court, he'd have to fight for his civil rights.
Do you consider yourself to be human?
Objection. Sustained.
No, the witness can object.
Overruled. Sidebar. Guilty. Speculation. Hearsay.
It's just such a good script. I hate to compare it to Ted 1, but it's hard not to. It's a way better script. It's a way better story. I mean, it's hard to set up something like this, a guy and his teddy bear.
It's okay, it's not a
It's an insanely genius idea for a movie, and it worked so well, but it's still hard to like have a real plot when you're trying to introduce this to the world.
Boom, boom. Let's all go to court. Boom, boom. Hey, you lawyer guys.
It's a comedy, it's a raunchy comedy, and you don't expect this really heavy subject matter, which it's not dealt with heavy. It's dealt with jokes and you know, gags and things like that, but you know, and the underlining theme is everybody should be treated the same, and it's nobody's right to say that you can marry this person, you can't marry this person, you can have a child, but you can't have a child. You're a person, but you're not, you know. So it's really Seth and they did a wonderful, wonderful job, I think, with this one, even more so than the first one.
What the
Ted 2 comes out tomorrow, and of course we'll have a review for you.
Okay, but you know what's coming up next, though? You, my friend, are pulling some thread with Unravel. Welcome back to EP Daily. You know me, you know I like cute, but who doesn't? Toss in a little cute with a little whimsy, and you got yourself a new game called Unravel. Here's Vic with a look.
Martin Celine is developing a really interesting new game called Unraveled. Can you tell us the idea behind this game? How did you come up with this thing that seems to be taking us on a magical trip back to nature in a way?
The whole thing started with a song lyric, actually. The lyric goes, while you're away, my heart comes undone and slowly unravels in a ball of yarn. And for some reason, that kind of popped up in my head as I was writing, and I just figured that sounded a whole lot like a game character for some reason.
I love the aesthetic of the idea of getting us back into nature. I think that the concept of making everything kind of look photoreal was really savvy. And was that part of the concept, was to kind of project the natural world back at us a little bit like that?
I think, yeah, but mostly I would say it's kind of like a lot of the design process behind this game has kind of been like it feels a bit like you're following a path that's already there, but you're just kind of like finding the next step as you go along, because the whole process was very organic.
What's the character's name?
We call him Yarny.
Yarny. So Yarny is going to travel through all of these different environments and use his yarn abilities in what kinds of ways?
At the foundation of it all, it's like a physics-based like platformer. Like puzzles and stuff. So you got all the basic, like the runnings and jumping and pulling and pushing, that stuff. But then you have your yarn abilities that enable you to do things like you can throw a lasso, or you can climb on the yarn trail that you're leaving behind you, or you could tie it to things, like attach them to create kind of like mechanical things. And you can actually create bridges that you can walk on and move objects across, or like slingshot yourself from. So there's like a whole lot of stuff that you can do with it. We're nearing the end of development now, so it's kind of fun. You see the light at the end of of the tunnel.
You've got a really cool concept and a beautiful looking game. You know, finding exposure for a title like this. How did it happen for you, and what kind of words of encouragement would you give to other people that are living in the boonies making games for that they want to have a global audience for?
I guess just like do your own thing, do something that you believe in, and do something that means something to you, because if it means something to you, then it might mean something to someone else as well.
We'll have more on Unravel in a future episode of EP Daily. Right now, though, we've got to take a little trip down to San Francisco to meet with our newest team. Magica has a sequel, and they've got their review.
If you've ever had a dream to cast practically any spell you've ever wanted, I have the perfect game for you. This is Magica II on the PlayStation 4. It's also available on the PC. What did you think of Magica II?
I'm a really big fan of couch co-op games, so I actually really enjoyed Magica 2 with a friend. By yourself, it gets repetitive after a while, and it gets kind of hard. But with all the different spells, as you mentioned, there's, what, 8 elements that you can play with?
Yeah. So you have 8 different elements that are all mapped to your buttons, and then you can push the trigger buttons and it'll unload another 4 weapons and abilities for you to use. But the fact that you can load up to 5 of those in various combinations, there's like a gazillion, I think there's a gazillion combinations of...
That's a fact?
That is a fact. It was a gazillion different kind of combinations of spells you can use, which keeps the game totally interesting. You started off the game like, okay, load up on my fire.
Yeah.
Take him a wizard. You're on the hunt as a wizard to find the chosen child, save the world from orcs taking over, which sounds, I mean, a cookie cutter story.
Yeah, but you're not really playing for the story. It's a parody off Diablo type games.
Yeah.
You're playing as up to 4 wizards, casting death rays, laser beams. But what I like is that they give
Fire,
you
laser beams.
I know you can mix it up, but what I like about it is that you get all the abilities from the get-go. You don't have to worry about unlocking things. You don't even have to worry about equipment. It does a really good job with item management. There really is no management. You're just unlocking stuff. Pick up whatever you want.
It's like, oh, here's a cool weapon. I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to use that. We're just going to, all right, switch. There's another one.
But what were some of your favorite magic combinations? Because I was a big fan of Death Ray with some lightning.
Yeah, I liked, it was like fire, earth, death. So it's like I'd throw these fiery death rocks and they would just explode on impact.
Right.
And it was just an incredible mix. But then it's like you get into certain instances where the actual layout of the level can affect the way you're playing your character. So if you're on a beachfront and you're trying to use lightning, your character explodes.
Yeah.
Because lightning and water don't mix.
And that's interesting because the elements actually interfere with your environment and yourself, because I didn't realize that the first time I walked through the puddle. I was wet, casting lightning, and I kill myself somehow, and it's like, oh, that actually matters. But it's kind of neat, because then you can also cast frost to freeze the water and walk over it. You can cast a shield with water to kind of prevent yourself from getting wet. So there are all these interesting combinations that you can do to kind of play with the environment.
Yeah, and it's not even just casting the spells as well. You can cast them on your weapon. So if you want to use like a fiery death sword, you can go ahead and use that. If you want to throw up a shield around your character, if you want to inflict massive amounts of damage to yourself, also doable.
Also doable.
The Magica series was born on the PC, so I wasn't sure how the transition of bringing a PC game that's built where you have all of these controls at your, at will, and you're going to transfer that over to a controller, I thought might be difficult, and it can be a little tedious trying to figure out exactly which spell you're trying to use, especially when you have to flip through pages sometimes.
Yeah,
and
holding the controller buttons.
Trying to get all my life, I gotta hold this button, hold the trigger.
Yeah, how many times have you, friendly fire, how many times have you healed the enemy by accident or laser beam somebody else?
I've healed the enemy. I'm like, why isn't he dying? Oh, because I keep using my damn healing rays on him, and that's why he is clearly just becoming the most strongest thing I've ever faced and not losing any health. Now, there's challenges within the game as well, so you can take on up to 20 waves of enemies if you can survive that long, because most likely you won't, because you're gonna die a lot.
It's okay though, you just come right back.
It's true, especially if you play with friends, but if you're playing by yourself, you're gonna die. And that's not, it's hard when you don't have friends who want to come over and play awesome games with you.
I also love the little Easter egg references. So if you watch things like Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, you should find the little Easter eggs. They're pretty cute. It's goofy, it's entertaining. I really enjoyed it.
I had a good time. I thought it was going to be a little too much when I first played it, when I was first jumping into it and trying to master all the spells. But once you find a good flow of spells that you like to use and you can constantly go to them without dying, and especially if you're playing with friends, there is a whole lot of enjoyment to be had. What are you going to give the game?
I'm going to give it a 7.5.
I'm right there with you. 7.5 for me as well. That's right.
Fireballs.
Thank you, Jose and Sophia. Their chemistry, it's magic. All right, we've got to take a break, but you won't want to miss what's coming up next. It's Lego Jurassic World.
to EP Daily. Like everyone else out there, I've got the Lego fever. My brother and I got matching blue buckets with all the goods. You know the one, when I was just a wee lass. And Vic, well, he likes Lego too. Now we play in video game form, so here's our review of Lego Jurassic World. We may not have enjoyed the Jurassic World movie perhaps as much as other people have, but maybe we love Lego Jurassic World, the video game.
It does have Lego in it.
It does have Lego, and we do love our Lego. There's just so much to enjoy in a video game like this, not only because there's so much content, there's every single Jurassic Park movie in this. So 4 movies that you get to play through. So you want bang for your buck. I feel like Lego is giving it to you, but I feel like they always do with their games. They have a formula now that just really seems to work.
It is quite astonishing how many games they're able to pump out in a year underneath the Lego brand. And every time we step up to plate with one of these things, it feels like, oh, they're gonna miss it. This is not gonna be the fun one. I've had enough. There's a skepticism at this point, you know? For big chunks of this game, I gotta tell you, I was pretty bored. But then you get to play as a Triceratops and you get to bash through rocks and trees and things like that. Just the sheer fact that you can pop into, in certain sequences, and be a dinosaur, that makes this game very special and very fun.
This game is special and fun for a couple of other reasons too, mainly if you're a Jurassic Park fan.
Yeah, if you're an aficionado and you want to see all of those sequences Lego-wise, it's pretty cool.
If you're a Spielberg fan too, there are little Easter eggs in there that you might find and enjoy. Little dino eggs in there that you might find and enjoy, of course. The voice acting here is fantastic, as always. The humor in here is fantastic, as always with Lego. So those are things that kept me wanting to keep playing, because there are moments in this game where you just feel like, okay, well, like, didn't I just do this? Didn't I just do this? What is the point of that? Like, I'm shouting at my screen constantly playing this game.
Well, and it's like every piece of machinery in the parks has been broken, and you've got to dig for it or bash something to find a piece to put it back together.
Or use like another character to scream and break glass, and it's just like...
Yeah, it's the same puzzle types of sequences over and over again, but we know that. I mean, these things kind of review themselves by now. They do have direct lifted audio bits from the movie, and I did find that some of the audio quality was pretty awful, actually. I mean, it's great to have the real performers in there. It's great to have the real sounds, and of course, John Williams' music. The audio quality, I think, overall is a little subpar, and it kind of makes you realize why they do use sound-alikes and why they get back into the booth and re-record certain lines and things like that in video games, because you can't just lift from movie tracks and stuff like that and make it sound great. You even hear like background audio as people are trying to talk and stuff, and then it fades and disappears. It feels a bit rushed that way.
I didn't feel that at all when I was playing. Oh, you had it cranked? Okay, like I just kind of felt like, okay, that was really funny. That was a pretty good line. I love that, because Lego, they always have these great lines, but it's the voice acting that actually happens that you can tell it was written for the game.
Yes.
Just little things that happen because...
from all the supporting cast?
From all the supporting cast. Because the thing about Lego, it's so great, is it really is for kids. Like every time a dinosaur eats someone, at the end of that level, like the dinosaur will be coughing up those people. Like they don't actually die.
Yeah.
Nobody ever dies in these games. Yep. But I love that the guys that make, like Telltale, man.
Well, they have pretty fantastic jobs.
They do, and they love what they do. They don't.
There are bugs in this game, though. I was stuck inside of one of the gyroscope things in the gyro level, which was really fun, actually, rolling around and trying to solve all the puzzles with that. But I disappeared into the world, and it just was all black. And you know, that standard sort of perspective thing that's been a problem with Lego games right from the beginning, where you can't make jumps that look like you can make.
Yes.
That still persists in 2015 after about 100 of these Lego games. I loved playing the dinos. That's the reason why I really enjoyed this game and why I would want to beat it.
Okay.
But I can't just look past its flaws and its faults, and it does have some.
This is for the Jurassic Park aficionados.
Yes,
for sure. And I wouldn't say anything outside of that. If you watched every single Jurassic Park movie, then you'll get all the references.
Well,
that's the thing.
Kids love dinosaurs too.
They do, but you want to get the humor in the game. You want to get the most you can out of it. So, okay, if you're a dad or your mom and you love all Jurassic Park movies and you want to play this game, you can, and the kids will love it too. There you go.
And if they dig dinosaurs, they'll have fun. What are you giving it? What are you giving it?
It's an 8.
It's a 7.5 for me. I'm still waiting for the Lego Avengers and Justice League team up. Chris Pratt could be in that too, throwing some Guardians of the Galaxy. Stick around when we come back. It's the Twitter question of the day. If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to EP Daily. It is time now for the best part of today's show. It is the Twitter question of the day. This one comes from Joey JoJo's Jr. Shabato. I love that name, buddy.
Why his Twitter question was chosen, I think.
Probably, but it could be the question. Should I be concerned that Victor Lucas only gave Arkham Knight 10 out of 10 when, if I remember correctly, he gave Arkham City 13 out of 10?
It was a 12, and I heard from everybody after that it was a little too high. I actually had to change that in the review. Still deserved a 12. And I think this one did too, but I couldn't do the same thing again. People would have slapped me down. But yeah, no, it's absolutely a stellar game. Every bit as good as any of the Arkham games. I have been hearing about some of the PC concerns, and hopefully Warner Brothers and Rocksteady have been addressing some of that stuff, because the PC version should be incredible.
It should be the best version, for sure.
It should be very, very good, absolutely.
Yeah, you and I took a look at it on the PS4, so we seem to be enjoying ourselves a little bit.
Pretty damn amazing.
So, did you answer the question? 10 out of 10?
Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10. It's going to stay at a 10 out of 10.
All right, thank you, Joey JoJo Jr.
And remember, if you want to get caught up on our shows or ask us any Twitter questions, go to epn.tv.
We got more coming for you in an upcoming episode of EP Daily, including a brand new look at No Man's Sky.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox. EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Dungeon Hunter 5, which you can play for free on iOS and Android right now.